Sunday doubleheader on ESPN Radio. First in Minnesota, the Vikings face the Rams. Touchdown! Then Andrew Luck and the Colts face the undefeated Broncos. Coverage begins at noon Eastern Sunday on ESPN Radio.
The topics are hot. The discussion is heated. And we're on fire. The First Take Podcast starts now.
Here's what's coming up on the First Take Podcast. What did the Warriors prove by beating the Clippers? Plus, will Johnny Manziel hand the Bengals a loss tonight? And how much will JPP's return help the Giants? Let's start. Hello and welcome into First Take. Thank you so much for being with us. Larry Fitzgerald will be with us later on. Lots to get into with him. Here with Skip Bayless. I'm Molly Karam. Stephen A. joins us from New York City. Hi, guys.
Good morning. Good morning. How y'all doing?
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Slight little headache, but I'm all right. I'm ready to roll.
Well, I hope I don't make it worse.
Oh, we know that's all going to happen.
You always make it worse.
I know.
All right, let's get into it. Steph Curry scored 31 points, including 13 in the fourth, as the Warriors overcame a 10-point fourth-quarter deficit to defeat the Clippers. Curry has 179 points this season. Only Michael Jordan has scored more in his team's first 5 games of a season over the last 30 seasons. Stephen A., what did this game tell you?
Well, what it tells me is that there's an uphill climb for the Clippers to catch the Warriors. The Warriors are clearly the superior team right now. They just seem to have the Clippers number. They've won 5 straight at the Oracle. More importantly, the Clippers have no answer for Steph Curry when it counts most. Outside of their ability to deny him the ball and limit his number of shots, they certainly don't limit his level of efficiency. He finished with 31 points. He hit 2 key three-pointers in the fourth quarter last night. Not only that, when they went small, it worked to their advantage because, once again, the Achilles heel for the Los Angeles Clippers is a guy I believe would be exponentially better and big time as a center if he could hit free throws in DeAndre Jordan. But because he can't hit free throws, you can't capitalize on whatever prowess he has offensively and defensively when he's on the court. If they go small, it neutralizes him. A couple of three-point shots, Skip, that Steph Curry hit was over DeAndre Jordan. It was DeAndre Jordan really not putting his hands up because he's in foreign territory, being near the three-point line, trying to defend when he's a 7-foot center. So that really inhibits his ability to be as effective as he's put out there to be. When Golden State goes small, what you have is a situation where you've got Draymond Green playing center, you've got Harrison Barnes at your power forward, you've got Andre Iguodala with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry out on the floor with one another. They're far more efficient offensively because the ball moves more, it moves faster, and they get more open shots, evidenced by Harrison Barnes going on a 10-point spurt in the fourth quarter to help bring the the Golden State Warriors back from a 10-point deficit. In the end, what this comes down to is that the Warriors have Steph Curry, who is a flat-out superstar. You take into account the fact that they can go small and really cause problems for opposing teams with their offense, and that defensively, because they can move their feet, because they're feisty defensively, and they can really get up in you, and you can't afford to go big against them because it will really hurt you. They seem to have the ingredient to beat the Los Angeles Clippers. And what I stole from this game is that the Clippers will be competitive. The Clippers will fight. They wouldn't get swept or anything like that. But in a 7-game series, it doesn't seem like they'd have an edge against the Golden State Warriors. They just seemed ill-equipped to deal with the arsenal that the Warriors throw their way.
Not sure I agree with your final analysis here, but I do, before I launch, I want to give you credit because yesterday we talked about how Golden State was favored at Oracle at home by 8. And you said you would take those 8 points in the Clippers. You said this would be, to quote you, a nail-biter. You were absolutely right about this. I thought it could be a quasi-blowout, maybe 15 or even 20 points, because that's what Golden State has been doing to everybody else so far on their schedule. Here's when I thought I was dead right, Stephen A. Smith. You realize with 7:56 to go in the first half, midway through the second quarter, the score was 46-29 home team. Think about that. 46-29. Golden State up when Steph Curry hit another impossible, how did he do that, off-balance 3. my guy from Vanderbilt, Festus Ezeli, actually got fouled on the screen on that play. So he's going to get a free throw on top of Steph's three. They had to go to the review on that, and they decided that it was almost like simultaneous launch and foul. And Oracle went, as we all know it can, bananas. And it felt like, once again, not that they had won the championship, but it was a big celebratory moment for that arena and that home team. And I think they were feeling themselves. I think they got maybe a little too full of themselves. And I'm here to tell you, from that moment all the way into the fourth quarter, till the 5:32 mark of the fourth quarter, do you realize the Clippers that you said would make it close outscored Golden State 68-41? They went on a 68-41 run. Think about that. At Oracle, the Clippers did that. I was highly impressed with the Clippers. It gave me pause to think maybe the Clippers can compete down the line with a Golden State that just looked like an unbeatable juggernaut first 2-3 games. It also gave me some hope for my Spurs. You know, maybe there's some flaw here. There's some Achilles heel, because if you get outscored on your home floor 68-41, wow, it shows some vulnerability. So I went a little deeper into the numbers, and I said, how did that happen? Well, guess what? In that stretch, our man Steph went 1 for 9 in that 68-41 stretch. So the bottom line is, they go as he shoots, as he goes. And yet, Harrison Barnes, remember, the Clippers went up 10 mid-fourth quarter, went up 10 at Oracle, and Harrison Barnes was the first to stem the tide, because in a 2-minute stretch, he scored 10 quick points. Then down the stretch, down the last 5:32, Steph Curry made 4 out of 5 shots. He made 3 threes. Well, that's just too good. As you say, he's a superstar, and nobody could guard him. And the stats showed that when Chris Paul tried to guard him, that was a mismatch. He was eating up Chris Paul. When they mixed and matched on him through the 68-41 run, you know, Austin Rivers tried him. I'm sure everybody took some turns on him, but that seemed to bother him a little more. But my bottom line was, I think Golden State just took its foot too far off the gas. I think they thought, here we go with another 50-point Memphis kind of a blowout. And in the end, when it was time to snap back, to hit that switch again, Steph Curry really hit that switch. So he goes from a 1 out of 9 jag and then makes 4 out of his last 5 shots. Ball game. But you were right. The Clippers made it close. And I came away very impressed with the Clippers' fortitude, their guts, their character, their hang-in ability. Go ahead.
Well, I'm impressed with the Clippers as well. I understand that the Clippers are legit. Please don't get me wrong, but we're talking about them going up against the reigning, defending NBA champions. And a guy with Steph Curry, first of all, this notion that he's 6 feet, 6'1", that's a lie. Steph Curry is a legit 6'3". He's got a legit 2 to 3 inch height advantage over Chris Paul. I've stood next to both of them on several occasions. I know this. Not to mention the fact that when you look at Steph Curry being guarded by Chris Paul is a quintessential point guard, and we know that he can defend. But Steph Curry, because of his marksmanship, is the kind of guy you've got to have a taller body on him, somebody that's capable of getting in his face and trying to impede his vision towards the basket. That's not Chris Paul. Chris Paul can't do anything with that. It's just that simple. Chris Paul, on another note, had his numbers for this game. I think he had 24 points, but in the end, he only had 4 points in the second half. And you got to do better against Golden State. You need more from Chris Paul offensively. But again, going back to Golden State, certainly the Clippers have a lot of heart, and you know they're not going to give up, and they have the talent to make any game interesting against anybody. But if you're the Golden State Warriors and you're beating them when Ezeli is in the lineup, and then you take him out of the lineup and you go small and you continue to find a way to beat them, I'm not looking at a 68-41 run that the Clippers went on. I'm looking at when the game was on the line, when it counted most, when you had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, somehow, some way, here come the Warriors, and there was little to nothing nothing that you were able to do about it. These are the same Clippers that were blowing out the Houston Rockets in Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals in Los Angeles at the Staples Center last year. 19 points up with a little bit of time left in the third quarter. And the Houston Rockets, led by Josh Smith, along with Harden. I can't even say Harden because he was on the bench a vast majority of that time. But there were some no-names along with Josh Smith to the Houston Rockets at the time. They went on a 49-9 run. And so when you look at the Los Angeles Clippers, yeah, they can make a run, but they can also give up stuff, and they give it up at the most inopportune of times. So the conclusion that we need to draw from this is that the Clippers are a damn good basketball team. They're in one of the elite teams in the NBA, but they are second-tier status to the Golden State Warriors because the Golden State Warriors are not just champions, they're playing like champions. And the Clippers are playing like a team nipping and tucking at their heels, but can't quite grab a hold of them as of yet. It's just that simple.
History on Golden State's side. The Warriors are the 5th team in NBA history to start consecutive seasons 5-0. 3 of those teams went on to win back-to-back NBA titles in those seasons. Now to the other ESPN game last night. The now 2-3 Knicks lost to the now 4-1 Cavs in Cleveland. Carmelo and LeBron played each other tough, contesting over 50% of each other's shots. Anthony scored 2 points when guarded by LeBron, while LeBron got 11 with Anthony as his primary defender. But LeBron stepped up in the fourth big. Melo did not. Skip, what was your takeaway from this one?
Stephen A., you love you some Carmelo Anthony. I love me some Carmelo Anthony. I know it's still early, but my takeaway last night was I was deeply disappointed in Carmelo Anthony when it mattered most. Head-to-head against LeBron James, who was mightily struggling with his shot, Carmelo came up very small for a Knicks team that I think is pretty good, or let's just say not bad. They're way better than I thought they were going to be. Are they a contender? No, they're not a contender. Could they make a little noise, maybe make some kind of run at the 8th playoff spot? Maybe. I kind of like the team. I like Porzingis. I think he's not going to be a bust. I'll go that far this early. He's 20 years of age, 7 feet 3 inches tall. He's just so long. He's skilled. He's not afraid. Just a baby, but he's got high basketball IQ. I think he's not bad. And I watch these other, Langston Galloway, you've brought him up. He's not bad. Kyle O'Quinn's not bad. Derek Williams, I never liked him before the draft, but in the role that the Knicks have him in, he's not bad. So this team had a chance last night on national television to make an early season statement at the Cavaliers. Beat them, and you go to 3-2. So you're 1 point down going to the fourth. You actually had a big lead in the game, but that's okay. You're just one down. Up to that point, LeBron finally made a 3 in the middle of the fourth quarter, and at that point, he was 1 for 16 for the season from three-point range. And we saw what happened in the first half. He blamed it on the sleeve jerseys that they were wearing last night. LeBron had signed off on these jerseys. They had practiced in them, and he said, I'm good with it. But then, of course, he's got to blame something for his shooting woes, which have continued since the NBA Finals when he was a disaster.
Don't go there.
Well, I'm just telling you. So he tears it up. He makes a big show on our tear my sleeves. Okay, fine.
He's always complained about those sleeves.
He practiced in them, and he signed off. He told the league, I am good with these. So whatever.
Because the league wanted him to play them.
Okay.
They wanted him to win.
All right, but the point is, he was struggling mightily. You've got him on the ropes, and you let him off the ropes because in the fourth quarter, Carmelo goes 1 out of 5. He does not get to the free throw line. He's your guy. He's your $23 million man. We all know that. He's your max guy. He should be at age 31, still at the backside of his prime in his 13th NBA season. And you just got to play a little bigger than that against the best player on the planet, your close friend LeBron James, who wasn't great in the fourth quarter, but he was way better than Carmelo because he goes 3 out of 8. He did get to the free throw line and made 4 out of 5. He made things happen. He played with much more energy and urgency than Carmelo did in the fourth quarter. Carmelo just looked dead-headed. He looked dead-legged. And he hasn't been great in the other Knicks games this year. I know Kawhi Leonard did a number on him at the Garden. He does that to just about everybody. But Carmelo had the one outburst at Washington. He scored 37. Other than that, the Knicks have kind of won in spite of him, or been decent in spite of him. I need to see more, because I think this team is looking for him to lift them just one more level up, and it has a chance to at least be respectable this year if he's what he should be. He's that guy. He's a top 5 scorer in this league, and a clutch player that he's been in the past. I'm just not seeing it yet from Carmelo the way this team is looking to see it from him. Your thoughts?
Well, in all fairness, not that mine. I mean, I can sit up there, you know how much I got love for Carmelo Anthony, and him being a New York Knick doesn't hurt that notion at all. But I'm disappointed with what I've seen thus far. And I'm disappointed because I think that, number one, he doesn't appear to be as healthy as he needs to be. I think that he looks like he's been dragging for most of the season. I even watched him with the 37-point explosion against Washington, and I still found myself looking at him physically, Skip, and questioning whether or not he was going to last this season. Maybe you will get better as the season goes on. You continue to receive treatment, get yourself in the game playing shape, et cetera, and we may see something different. And the upside to this is that Carmelo Anthony can shoot the basketball. So he's not somebody whose exploits and greatness are predicated on, his physicality. It's his ability, being 6'8" and about 240, and his ability to beat you from the outside is what can potentially make him lethal no matter what the situation is, because when he's making shots, what are you going to do about it? But I think what you saw last night in the fourth quarter when he was going up against LeBron James is that LeBron James is in better shape than him. So LeBron James can amp it up to another level, another notch, and really, really do whatever's necessary in order to lift his team to victory. I think we all look at Carmelo Anthony, and even though I'm not going to sit here and say that he's out of shape, Carmelo Anthony has never, ever, ever in his lifetime been in the kind of shape that a LeBron James is in. So I think that has something to do with it as well in terms of the lack of effectiveness last night, because Carmelo Anthony usually gives it to LeBron. Carmelo Anthony usually shows up and plays against LeBron James. I'm just not satisfied with what I'm seeing from him. You know how I'm feeling about the Knicks right now. Certainly they're playing better. Phil Jackson deserves a lot of credit for that, because they're playing better. They're playing harder. Porzingis is not a bust. He's a 2 to 3 year project. There's an incredible upside to him, and I think that he'll be fine. But at the same time, when you've got Vujacic in your starting lineup, you got a problem. Jerrion Grant out of Notre Dame needs to learn how to shoot the basketball. Okay, Porzingis is giving you something. Robin Lopez is marginal. We all know this. And that's all you can go. I mean, what do you want me to go with? The Langston Galloways of the world, the Kyle O'Quinns, the Lance Thomases, the Derek Williams. These are serviceable players, decent players. But Carmelo Anthony doesn't have but so much to work with, which means he has to be in the kind of condition mentally and physically to carry this team. And he's not. So I'm not happy with what I've been seeing from him. I understand to some degree why that is. But at the same time, I got to tell you, they're not going to go very far unless Carmelo Anthony is a superstar.
No doubt.
And he doesn't look like a superstar right now.
Okay. Are you suggesting he has not recovered from his knee issue of last year?
I don't think he's fully recovered.
Wow.
I do not. I'm not saying that the injury is an issue, but I think the injury and the kind of setback it caused him conditioning-wise, I think there's a lot for him to overcome, because even when he didn't have these injuries, Skip, he wasn't known as some conditioning guru.
Yeah.
And so because of it, now you've got the injury, and then that scales you back. Yeah, you're rehabbing from the injury so you can get on the basketball court and play. But the kind of physical conditioning that you're accustomed to having, before it wasn't great. So why would it be great now?
Yeah. Stephen A., my fear, and I'm hoping against hope this is wrong, but my fear is that Carmelo has been beaten down by such losing with the Knicks that they've lost so much that he's starting to lose his love for playing basketball, where you just get so tired and you look around at the 20-year-old next to you and the guys you just listed and you're saying, we don't really have a chance. So you lose some heart for it. You lose some zest for going out and competing every night, because you start to think, even at my greatest, I can't lift this team up.
Well, let's put it in let's just put it plain and simple. Carmelo will never admit it because he's too classy to do so. But he knows this team is subpar, to be kind. He knows that. He knows he's not playing with a championship, a squad with the potential for a championship. But at the same time, Carmelo loves his money. In an ideal world, he would love to make his money in New York City while they're winning. In a less than perfect world, he'd love to make his money while he's winning, even if it was someplace other than New York. Now, this is no excuse for people to run away and say that I'm saying that Carmelo Anthony wants to get traded from the New York Knicks, because I'm not accusing him of such things. But I will say this, considering how average they are, if he had an opportunity to get his money, which he now has, because he's making $122 million, and you couple that with him playing for a contender, do I think that he'll cry about departing from the Big Apple? Somehow, some way, I suspect he'll get over.
Okay, but Knicks fans don't want to hear that this early in the season. They just think you're making $23 million this year. Earn your money. Just earn it.
Which is why he won't say a word about it, and he probably ain't even thinking about it because it's too early in the season. Not to mention the fact that they do look better than they did last year.
Yep.
But at the same time, they're just not a championship contender. And when you're in the weak Eastern Conference, and there's debates as to whether or not you will even make the playoffs, you are the epitome of sorry. And it just comes down to that. So that's a reality that he has to deal with. He wanted to take the money. He got the money. Nobody can knock him for that. But the price that came with that was staying with the team that's ions away from being a championship contender. And he's going to have to deal with that. And so are New York Knicks fans like myself. As sick to my stomach as it makes me for this team not to be competitive, I have to hold on to a little bit of hope. They do look better than they did last year, and they are playing harder. So I'll give them credit for that. But that's about all they're getting from me.
Cowboys Nation, you're going to love this. Tony Romo practiced for the first time since breaking his left collarbone September 20th. He remains on the injured reserve designated to return list and can't play until November 22nd against the Dolphins. But Wednesday was the first day he was eligible to return to practice under league rules. Romo took part in pat and go and warm-ups, worked through some individual drills, and threw passes during the routes on air portion of practice. Oh, Skip.
Oh, Molly.
Your thoughts?
My thoughts. Stephen A. Smith. I hate to admit this publicly, but I am starting to fear that Jerry Jones blew this Cowboys season. Early on, as we all know, Jerry Jones had two big decisions to make. Game one, Dez Bryant, fractured foot. What are you going to do with Dez? It's called the Jones fracture, not Jerry Jones, but it's the same one that Kevin Durant has gone through and needed two more procedures to finally get it right. It's a dicey surgery with iffy results. So what do you do with Dez? Do you put him on that designated to return list where he can't come back until November 22nd at Miami? Nope. Jerry Jones says let's keep him on the active roster. Let's lose a spot, because Dez obviously can't play for a while, in hopes that a minor miracle will occur and Dez will come back way prematurely. And he has. So far, so good. I'm not sure it's going to last. Now, week two, Tony Romo. Broken left collarbone. Again, second time. 2010, first time. What are we going to do with Tony Romo? Oh, he doesn't really need surgery, so they're just going to let it heal. It's not that bad. It's actually best case scenario. It's not too bad. It's just a slight crack. So what are we going to do, Jerry? Let's put him on the designated to return list, which means he is ineligible to play all the way until November 22nd at the Dolphins. What? So I'm thinking that Jerry overplayed his hand here. I'm thinking that Jerry decided, I really like Brandon Weeden because he talked about how beautifully he can throw the football, and he did go get Matt Castle as a little insurance. And I think Jerry thought this football team is so good, or would be so good, that maybe they could beat Atlanta. Maybe they could go win at New Orleans. Who knows? Maybe when the Giants come to Jerry World, the other way around, go to the Giants, Jerry's thinking, maybe we can go steal that game. Then maybe we could beat the Eagles at home, go win at Tampa. And obviously, Jerry's thinking, I'm guessing, that by the time Romo does return November 22nd, they'd still be in first place. Has not happened. 5 straight losses have happened. We saw just stay off the weed in, and then we saw from the castle back to the outhouse instead of other way around. And I'm thinking that Jerry looked at an offensive line that is absolutely loaded. I just read a piece on ESPN.com. It was a Pro Football Focus ranking the best blockers in pro football, and 3 of the top 8 are Dallas Cowboys. 3 of the best blockers. Center, Travis Frederick. Then you go to the left guard, Lyle Collins, the rookie, and Ty Smith. They're saying that 3 at their positions, they're the 3 best. So I think Jerry's looking at that saying, we don't really need Tony Romo. We're going to be okay. Let's make sure, let's save us from ourselves. We don't want to rush Tony back, but they do want to rush Dez back? I don't get it. I'm looking at Tony throwing. Obviously, I'm desperate because I've lost 5 straight games. And I'm looking at Romo as please save us, Tony. And he can't. He can go out and throw. He was eligible to practice, but he can't play a lick for 3 more games until the 3rd game from now. And by then, as we all know, could they lose to the Eagles? Well, you guys think that they will. And then could they go lose to Jameis and company down in Tampa? Sure, they could. So then what would happen? They'd be done, right? They would be done. There'd be no hope for them. So I think Jerry made a mistake. If you want to put Dez on that list, I'm fine with that. Do not put Tony on that list because he looks just fine to me. Your thoughts?
Breathe.
Well, that's what Cap's doing, Kaepernick. Need a chance to breathe, right?
Yeah.
Skip Bayless?
I can't hear you.
Are you saying, Skip Bayless, that you believe that Jerry Jones was being excessive in his protection, in his protecting Tony Romo?
I just said that. Yes, I did.
Are you saying that that surprises you?
It disappoints me. It infuriates me.
Oh, it disappoints you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So when he ran DeMarco Murray into the ground by giving him 392
here we go.
Carries, along with 449 overall touches last year, that to protect Tony Romo. No, you didn't think about it then. You didn't think about it then. When he sat up there and spent all that money on the offensive line and drafting the Zach Martin, Travis Fredericks, Doug Lee of the world, people like that, you understand? You didn't catch on to it then. But suddenly, you know what I'm saying? When he threw DeMarco Murray after he used him up and then threw him out like he was a piece of trash, okay? And now that he protected Tony Romo by putting him on the list and not making him eligible to play until November 22nd, suddenly you're surprised by this? It doesn't surprise me, Skip Bayless. This is par for the course. This is why the Dallas Cowboys are who they are. It's about Tony Romo because Lord knows the sun shines and sets with Tony Romo. We got Terrell Owens crying because that's my quarterback, that's my teammate and all of that stuff. And he was maligned for it. Tried to sit up there and suck up to Tony Romo and do what he could to sit up there and massage his fragile ego. We got Jason Witten protecting him at all costs, okay? We've got DeMarco Murray being ran into the ground. We've got the team invested in the offensive line. We got Des Bryant sitting there to go out there and play, find a way to get it done. But Tony Romo, look, we don't need you to really stress yourself. Oh, by the way, in the offseason last year before last season, wasn't he out there at Duke shooting jump shots, hanging out with the folks at Cameron Indoor Stadium and doing all of this other stuff? What I'm trying to say to you is you can sit up there and say what you want, but there are historical remnants of evidence all over the place how it's about Tony Romo and then everybody else when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, because he is massaged, he's soft soaked, okay, he's coddled, he's all of this other stuff. I'm surprised that Jerry Jones hasn't arranged for him to have daily manicures and pedicures for crying out loud. This is Tony Romo that we're talking about. This is nothing new. This is no surprise. He's Tony Romo. The sun shines and sets with him. That's the other son that Jerry Jones never had, okay? This is who he is. He's not a player for Jerry Jones. He's family. He's somebody that Jerry Jones loves so much. I promise you, on off days, Tony Romo's probably chilling at Jerry Jones' house, just chilling out, having a ball, because this is what happens. There's Tony Romo, and then there's the Dallas Cowboys. Tony Romo just happens to be a very nice guy, so we don't hear about it that much. But definitely, this dude is soft-soaked big time. So I don't know why you're acting surprised. You know this. You're just acting like you don't.
I'm telling you, my logic eludes you as usual here. You're completely missing my point.
Maybe because you're devoid of
logic. Do you remember what happened in the offseason when on Jerry's private plane, Tony Romo turned to him and said, Jerry, we're not getting any younger here. Tony Romo is getting up there in age. The window is closing on him and maybe this football team as far as he is concerned.
I agree.
So this was a big deal this year to max out your opportunities. I've told you again and again, if this team so much as ekes into the last playoff spot in the NFC, look out above, look out NFC, because if this team is healthy at that point, it will be the best team in the NFC, and it will roll on the road through the playoffs, because we know it is a much better road team than a home team. So my point is, Jerry missed the boat here. If he had just kept Tony on the active roster, he's not babying him. He's not trying to candy coat the situation.
Really?
No, he's not. He's just saying he thought that it would take Tony that long to get right. And Tony looks pretty right. Like, I'm sure Tony, if it were his choice, would play this week against the Eagles. I bet he would say, I could do this.
Did he think it would take that long for Tony Romo to get right? Or did he adopt the mentality, look, let's make sure under all possible circumstances that Tony Romo is completely taken care of. We don't want anything to happen to Tony Romo. Des Bryant, just go out there, figure it out. DeMarco Murray, just go to another team. But you, Tony Romo, please, we have to make sure he's okay.
No, he just thought that Brandon Whedon could win 3 games. That's what he thought. Okay. And guess what? Ain't happening.
And it might hurt him.
He was the only one. He was the only one.
Philly favored by 2.5 in that one.
Hey there, everybody. We're Mike and Mike.
It's that time of year again, Greeny.
You're absolutely right, Golick. The college football playoff is here.
And we're giving you the chance to be in with us at the national championship game.
Here's what you do. Listen live every weekday for your chance to win the Mike and Mike at the college football playoff sweepstakes presented by AutoZone.
Listen live for that winning word, then just enter for your chance to win.
We're picking a winner every week. Who's in?
Visit ESPNradio.com/MikeCFP for complete contest rules.
So clutch. Our next guest is in his 12th season with the Cardinals and holds the franchise record for receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. Please welcome 8-time Pro Bowler Larry Fitzgerald, who is here on behalf of Visa Checkout. Larry, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, Molly, how are you today?
Excellent. All right, let's get into it. You tweeted this after Sunday's win against the Browns. Sloppy first half, but we showed resolve in the second. Nice to go into the bye week 6-2. Now we'll rest up and get ready for the stretch run. So, Larry, how far can you guys go in that stretch run?
You know, hopefully we could take it all the way to the top. You know, love to get to San Francisco, but, you know, there's a lot of work to be done prior to that. You know, starting next weekend, Sunday Night Football versus Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. It's going to be a tough challenge for us, but we're up for the challenge.
Larry, I'm wondering what this year is like for you personally. Over the last 3 years, you didn't have a 1,000-yard season when you had at least a 1,000-yard season the previous 5. And already, after 784 yards receiving last year, halfway mark, you're already at 706. You seem to be having, you know, some sort of a resurrection. What's been going on, and how good are you feeling about how you've performed this season?
Well, Stephen, it's always great to be able to have some personal success, but, you know, at this point in my career, it's all about the team success, to be honest with you. I mean, the personal accolades have done it, you know, but, you know, to be able to have a team that has the opportunity to compete for something that's truly special is what it's all about. Having Carson Palmer back healthy, having Chris Johnson balling out, having John Brown and Michael Floyd doing their thing with me, I mean, it makes it that much more fun.
Larry, I got a question I've always wanted to ask you about the way you carry yourself. I think it's fair to say that you are less of a diva than many of the players that play your position in the National Football League, many of the other star receivers. Why is that? Give us some insight into that.
Skip, I'm just as much as a diva as those other guys. I just mask it a little bit better. I want my touches just like everybody else does, but I never put myself in front of my teammates. I think it's important that as a leader, you always show, you know, that you're willing to watch other guys have success. So when Smoke and John Brown and Chris Johnson makes long runs and other guys have success, I mean, those are my boys. I see them working every single day to have that success, and I really am happy for them. You know, but I still want to get my opportunities too, though.
And I realize you have an ego like everybody else, but do you think, Larry, it had something to do with the way you were raised?
Skip, honestly, man, my parents did a wonderful job. My dad and my mother, I'm truly a product of great parenting. They made a lot of sacrifices for myself and my brother to go to good schools, and they always provided great mentorship for me. And, I definitely will tip my hat to my parents, Skip. I appreciate you acknowledging them.
You got it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can't help but acknowledge your dad, how wonderful he's been to all of us in this business. But let me get back to you, just looking at, I remember, and I'll share this with Skip and Molly, the last time that I saw you in person play, I was at a game at MetLife Stadium, December 2nd, 2012. And the reason why I bring that up, Larry Fitzgerald, is because it is the most horrific experience that I've ever had as a reporter covering a football game. The quarterback was Ryan Lindley. No disrespect, but he is somebody that I felt should have been banned from ever quarterbacking again. He went like 10 for 31 for like 72 yards. I counted at least 5 times when you were open, and they couldn't find you. And it was just so bad that I thought that you might contemplate retiring at the end of that season. I want to know what has inspired you to continue going, to get to this point where you're able to have the kind of season that you're having, because considering Arizona's struggles with finding a quarterback, with the exception of Carson Palmer, of course, because now he's healthy. I'm wondering, what did it take for you to get to this point where you stuck around this long? Because, damn it, I wanted to quit for you after that experience.
Hey, Steve, you said I wanted to retire after the season. I wanted to retire after that game. Honestly, when you have a quarterback that is as talented as Carson, he means as much to us as Tom Brady means to the New England Patriots, as much as Cam Newton means to the Carolina Panthers, as much as Aaron Rodgers means to the Green Bay Packers. That's what Carson Palmer means to us. And as far as Carson takes us, as far as we're going to go, we understand that. We know that we have to keep him healthy and protect him and make our plays for him. And he's gonna makes everybody successful because he's just that talented, and we understand that. We know that we have to play good football down the stretch, but in terms of my mentality, you never can have that defeatist mentality. No matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent, you understand that you have an ability. You have to believe in your ability on the good days and the bad days. That's what confidence is all about.
So why, in your eyes, as his favorite receiver, is Carson Palmer so good? Explain to us, give us insight into what makes him as good as you believe he is.
Well, Skip, most guys, when they get injured after the season, they go on IR. You don't really see them too much. They go rehab in San Diego or Dallas or Miami or whatever they go rehab. Carson Palmer rehabbed in Arizona at our facility every single day. So when we were going through our game plan, Carson was there. When we were watching tape, Carson was there. He was involved in every single day-to-day operation. Only thing he did not do was go out in the practice field. But from a mental standpoint, he was with us. And I think that really helped, him in terms of really understanding what Coach Arians was expecting of him. And it really just made everybody just love him that much more because he didn't have to be there. He didn't have to be watching tape and doing the things he was doing, but he was dedicated to us and wanted the best for us, even though he couldn't be on the field with us. So when we got back together in the offseason, everybody was on the same page.
Larry, I want to transition real quick to a defense that's ranked 5th against the pass. It's a top 10 defense. We've heard the names, Calais Campbell, Patrick Peterson and the crew, Powers and others. But I got to give some love to Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, because I got to tell you, he's second on the team in tackles. We all know about his checkered pass at LSU. There seems to have been I don't know what to call it, but boy, does this kid deserve a lot of credit. He's always around the football. We knew that coming out of LSU. He can really play the game, but it seems to me like he's really grown up, to piggyback off of Skip, on the field as well as off the field. I want you to talk about him for a quick second and talk about the impact yourself, Bruce Arians, the whole Cardinals organization has had, because I think this kid is really special and we need to take a moment to give him some love.
Well, Stephen, I think a lot of times this happens is when people evaluate guys, they say, oh, he did this, he made a mistake. How many people do you know that have never made a mistake before? There's nobody out there. Tyrann's one of the most special individuals you'll ever be around. His dedication and attitude is infectious among our locker room. He's a young guy, but he is definitely one of our true leaders in our team. We love his passion. We love his energy. We love his charisma, everything he brings to this ball club. He leaves it out on the field every single day. And, having him be a part of our team only makes us that more special because he's so dynamic. dynamic. He can play corner. He can play nickel. He can play safety. He's one of our best blitzers, one of our best open field tacklers. He's so talented in what he can do for our ball club, and everybody recognizes that in his ability, and we're gonna go far because of his ability.
It's good to see him doing it not just in college, but at the NFL as well. Larry, thank you so much for the time on your bye week. Congrats on your personal success, the team's success, and good luck down the stretch. You know we'll be watching.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great day.
Andy Dalton and the 7-0 Bengals face the 2-6 Browns tonight. Johnny Manziel will be under center. The last time he faced the Bengals, it wasn't pretty. His QBR was 1.1. He threw for 80 yards, 2 interceptions, and was sacked 3 times in a 30-0 loss. But that was his first career start. Tonight, it will be his 4th. We welcome in Ryan Clark. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Welcome back.
Good.
Appreciate
Good to see you, as always. All right,
What's up, big boy?
What's happening?
What do you expect from Johnny tonight?
I expect them to go with the Tennessee Titans, Johnny, the guy that threw 15 times, was 8 for 15. I expect them to try to find ways to protect him. I also expect him to produce some big plays. The happiest player on the field tonight will be Travis Benjamin, because it seems like when Johnny plays, he gets opportunities deep down the field because Johnny wants to go there. He wants to be explosive. Coach Pettin and the coaching staff at Cleveland, they have to find a way to protect him, getting the ball to Duke Johnson, finding ways to use Barnage in the passing game, because he has been very productive in these last few weeks. You're going to get some good things from him, but you're going to get bad ball security. You're going to get mistakes in the passing game, making bad decisions, because that's who he is. He's not going to come out tonight and be a ball control, let's do everything correct, I'm going to stay in the pocket, make my reads, throw the ball away if I don't have it type of guy. And you can't expect that from him. On the other side of that, Carlos Dunlap, Geno Atkins, Michael Johnson, Burfict. You have Adam Jones on the outside. So there's all these people on the other side of the ball that's going to make this extremely hard for Johnny Manziel. This is the best, one of the best teams in the AFC, the #1 team in the AFC North, who just realized and found out they can win games without playing their best ball. Short week for Johnny Manziel against a really good team. There's going to be some good things, some bad things, but they'll lose by 2 touchdowns.
That's to put it mildly, I would think. Stephen A.
Nothing but love and respect for my Libra brother Ryan Clark up there.
Libra brother?
Libra.
Wait, where did that come from? It's a great month. It's a great month.
Well, what are we talking about?
He's born October 12th. I'm October 14th.
It's a great month.
I need to Google those
What about
traits.
that week? Think about that week.
What's the problem? That's number one. I just brought that up. Much love and respect, because at some later date off the air, Ryan Clark, you and I will discuss why you let Skip put you up to wearing that shirt. We'll discuss that later. We'll discuss that later.
Wait, can I interject? Because you're both Libras, is that why you repeat just about everything Ryan says on this show?
Well, I wasn't aware that I did that, but if I do so, there is no shame, because the man happens to know a thing or two about football, certainly more than I know. So I tell people when I'm giving my speeches, I'm brilliant because I know I'm not. I just steal brilliance from other people. He's brilliant when it comes to the game of football. I'm listening to his expertise, and I get what he's saying. Let me piggyback off of that, however, Skip, in all seriousness, when we go to Cleveland and Cincinnati. We've been talking about Johnny Manziel and the absence of weapons. Skip, this team has a decent passing attack. They've got a top 10 passing attack. Their problem is in running the football, because they don't have anybody that's averaging more than 3 yards a carry. So when you talk about a Duke Johnson, you've got to get him the ball. You're talking about a Kelvin Benjamin, you've got to get him the ball. You're looking at some of these guys, the Gabriels of the world, Barnage of the world. You got to get these guys the football. They seem capable of doing so with the Johnny Manziel, but they're going up against a superior Cincinnati Bengals team on the road. If they could run the ball more effectively, I would have more faith that they could make this an interesting game. But Ryan, Skip, because I think they're going to have to air it out in order to really put some points on the board, I think to some degree that's going to play in the Cincinnati's hands. I think that you're going to see guys getting a hat on Johnny Manziel. I could see 1 or 2 fumbles coming tonight, Skip, and at least 1 interception. So I'm going to pick Cincinnati to win this game by about 14. I don't think that Johnny Manziel will be god-awful, but I do think that he will make some mistakes. I also believe it will be contributed to the fact that they don't have much of a running game. And the combination of that, along with his miniature status, once they put a hat on him, I think they're going to hurt him a little bit. They're going to wear him down, and there's going to be some turnovers that's going to be imminent, and that'll lead to Cleveland's demise.
I'm sorry. This is going to be another nightmare for Johnny Manziel. This is wrong place, wrong time, wrong opponent, division rival. You can argue that the Browns will get up for this because it's somewhat of a rivalry, Ohio rivalry, obviously. But listen, the Browns in points scored are 25th in the league. In points allowed, they're 26th in the league. So I don't, Josh McCown's made some decent throws because he's a tough guy. He hangs in, he's smart, and yet they can't run the ball. They're 31st in rushing, so that will take no pressure off Johnny Manziel. I thought Brian Billick was interesting on Mike and Mike this morning because he said to me as I watch it, it's so easy right now to defend Johnny because you just tell everybody, stay in your lanes, keep him in the pocket, and play zone against him because he's played so little that you know this way better than we do, but if you just mix and match a bunch of zones that are just so confusing on the fly, especially on the road against, as you said, a very talented and experienced defense, it's mind-boggling what he would see or not see because Gary Barnidge, who's had a nice year, but he's bounced around, and it's like, that's all you got is Gary Barnidge? Really? And I agree with Travis Benjamin. I mean, he can get behind people. I just don't think he'll get behind these people. I just don't think they'll allow it. And I don't think Johnny will have enough time. And we know that when Johnny gets outside the pocket, he can do as much damage as anybody in pro football when he gets outside. I don't think they will allow it. I think Marvin Lewis is too good at coaching that side of the ball. And in Cleveland's side of the ball, Joe Hayden, who's the best player in their defense to me, we had him on the show back at the NBA Finals, a great young man. God bless him. He's in the concussion protocol. I'm almost sure he's not going to play tonight. So what? What are you going to do? I mean, you guys are saying 2 touchdowns. I mean, it feels like 4 touchdowns to me. It feels like it's going to get out of hand fast.
Skip,
go ahead.
Skip, the most important. Cincinnati is 7th on defense in terms of points allowed, but 22 in terms of yards allowed, and they're 23rd against the pass. So what that says to me, because I see the personnel that they have and I know they're talented enough, is that they take a lot of chances. They bend, but they don't necessarily break, but they take a lot of chances. And I believe that because it's Johnny Manziel that's out there, somebody that they've clearly rattled in the past, I think you'll see Cincinnati taking a few things for granted, taking a few chances, and opening up opportunities for Johnny Manziel to exploit. He'll lose more than he'll win, but I think he'll have some good moments tonight and at least attempt to make it respectable. I think he'll pull that off to some degree for at least 3 quarters.
Can I throw one thing out there? Dolan has struggled against the Browns, guys. They've held him under 120 yards passing the last 3 times they played. The last 2 home games, a QBR of 4. Just playing devil's advocate, not suggesting anything.
That was with a good Joe Hayden. Healthy Joe Hayden.
I know.
That was Tayshaun Gibson last year being pretty much the breakout star at free safety.
Yep.
And so there were some different things going on. And it was also a different Andy Dalton. It wasn't the Andy Dalton we saw come out last week, throw a pick in the red zone, and then drive his team back down to score the winning touchdown. So you're looking at this team, and it's totally different. It's a team that has something to prove, and he hasn't been good in primetime. He really hasn't. But this team is so much better than the Cleveland Browns are, it really doesn't matter.
No.
Andy Dalton just has to be okay. He has to go out and not lose it. You're talking about Johnny Manziel on a short week with an opportunistic defense, because even though, like Stephen A. said, they give up yards, you look at last week against the Steelers, they created turnover. Reggie Nelson with 2 picks. Williams comes up with a huge pick on the sideline. That's why they won that game. So if they're opportunistic against a guy like Ben, even though he's coming off of an injury, think about Johnny Manziel, the chances he takes, like you said, playing a zone, getting eyes to the quarterback, Kirkpatrick, those guys, they're going to have opportunities to make plays. And I think they make plays tonight, enough plays that this game's not even close.
Okay, quick thought from you. Johnny's future in this league, in football in general.
I think Johnny can play. Okay. I think they're doing a really good job of bringing him along slowly. I have confidence that he can be a starting quarterback in this league. Do I think he can be an elite Pro Bowl level quarterback? I don't believe so, but I do believe he can lead a team to wins in this league.
In Cleveland or elsewhere?
I think he's going to have to be elsewhere. I don't think that's the place for him to excel. They don't really have the right people around him, and their offense isn't ran in a way I feel like he can be super productive.
Skip, Ryan, Molly, 3 quarterbacks. Johnny Manziel, RG3, Colin Kaepernick all need to be elsewhere.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yep. Can I get a score quick, guys?
Let me answer this real quick.
Go for
just real quick. Look, Johnny off the field has issues. We know about them. He was in rehab for an estimated 10 weeks, 2 months. And he came back into this year on a zero tolerance policy, and then he had this incident. And it really, really disappointed me. I'm a big fan of his on and off the field, but I think he did himself so much damage around the league in interest level on other teams because he showed everybody, I don't really care about football that much because I'm going to threaten it with this incident. And I'm going to admit to the cops, I'm off the wagon. I had a couple of drinks earlier today. Then you got the incident with his live-in girlfriend, and we're not sure how that's going to come out after the investigation. And I think other teams said, really? That's all you got? That's all you care about what's left of your career?
Skip, let me tell you why you're not, I want to emphasize, you're not wrong. But I'm going to tell you why I think you're a bit more alarmed than you need to be. I think the combination of his troubles are exacerbated by knowing, I'm going to use this phrase, I think he's in a hostile working environment. What I mean by that is that hostile working environment, in some people's eyes, at least to some degree, is defined by being in a place where you know you're not wanted by some powers that be. And life is made to be unnecessarily difficult for you. The nuances of your daily activities, if you can understand where I'm coming from, Ryan, that's where I'm going here. I think it's the combination of his troubles combined with the working environment, combined with the people that he has around his personal life. Because aside from the incident in question that we're still trying to learn about as it pertains to his girlfriend and he being pulled over by the police, it was clear that he ain't the only one that was drinking something. So if you have somebody in an intimate capacity that's involved in your life, and the very, very thing that inhibits you and is a detriment and an Achilles to you is surrounded by you because of who you have in your life, then you got some changes to make. Correct. And so for me, it's about him needing a different location more so than anything else. And I think that different location ultimately assists everything, because if you're in a better working environment, you got a better attitude. When you have a better attitude, it's almost like having money. If you've got something and if you don't have anything, Skip, one of the problems we've got in our society, if you don't have anything, you don't have anything to lose. But when you have something to lose, and then you guard it better. And as a result, the company that you keep, the environment that you're around, the people that you allow to be in your inner circle, you are much, much more guarded. So I think the second he goes elsewhere to a place that welcomes him, I think everything will get better from that point forward. And that's why I say I don't think that you should be as worried. The big problem in all of this is that man is in Cleveland. I think if he were in Texas, with the Houston Texans or somebody, I think it would be a better environment.
Yeah, I agree with your premise, and I hope you're right about his future.
You never know until you're out there. That's why it's practices, you know. I've been doing good in practice. Coming off any injury, you just got to go out there and have that confidence, I got to feel confident in myself, shooting my hand and doing what I do best, playing the run and getting back there, pass rushing. So that's what's going to bring me back early. It's just adjustments. I think I'm doing a great job at it because I've been able to grab and shed tackles. It's just a big adjustment, but I'm okay. I'm doing pretty good. Skill set hasn't lost it. I haven't lost it, so I'm out there doing what I can. Hopefully I'll be out there Sunday.
He's He's giving it his all, and he's going to play in Tampa on Sunday. Maybe. Jason Pierre-Paul back practicing with the Giants. Ryan Clark is still here with us. Please tell America and these two while JPP is going to be the difference maker.
Well, what kind of question was that? I thought we had objectivity on this show.
Well, you know,
called it audible.
I don't know. I think this show we kind of have our favorites.
I think we
kind of have our favorites.
Maybe.
I mean, this NFC East race is so jumbled. Anybody can help. And if I just gave up 52 points, I'd accept anybody back. I'd try to bring back. I'd call Michael Strahan, see if I could get him off of TV right now. If I'm sorry, Molly. I know this, but the bright side, y'all scored 49, so that's good. I'm not worried about JPP being able to rush the passer. I was very interested in seeing his hand. I am really scary. I don't do like anything adventurous. I'm not jumping out of planes. I'm not bungee jumping. I don't do firecrackers. So I didn't even know what an injury like this would look like. When I saw his hand, it looked like he was holding a grenade. And so for me, the first thing I thought to myself is, can he shoot his hands? Can he shed blockers?
What do you mean by shoot his hands?
When you shoot your hands, so defensive line and offensive line play is about getting position, being inside. So if he can shoot his hands, grab cloth in order to pull himself through or swim over, try to find ways to shoot his hands, keep his outside arm free so he can see the ball.
Cloth with one hand.
And so and that's what I'm worried about. I think he immediately helps this pass rush, which is basically non-existent for the New York Giants. He comes in and he's able to do that. I don't know if he can be the 3-down player that he once was. It's going to be hard from a conditioning standpoint because nothing gets you prepared to play football except for playing football. So he's going to have to play himself back into shape in order to be effective down in and down out. I do think he immediately gives them something on third down in sub packages as far as getting after quarterbacks. And if you look at the quarterbacks in this league, there's no studs in the NFC East right now until Tony Romo's back, which I heard you earlier being upset that it can't happen for 3 more weeks. There's really not a premier guy to get after. So I think he helps the rush immediately. I don't think he does enough, I'm sorry, Molly, to change the race for the NFC East. They have to get better in the secondary and find ways to stop people from throwing the ball over. This goes a long way, at least getting pressure on the quarterbacks.
Stephen A.
We disagree, Mr. Clark. Here's the deal. When you look at the Giants, despite their struggles, they've still been in games. They are dead last. They rank dead last against the pass in the NFL. Number 32 overall. And by the way, in their 8 games this year, they have 9 sacks. 9. Moore's got 3, Cullen's got 2, nobody else has more than 1. 9 sacks in 8 games. That tells me they're not getting pressure on the quarterback. As a result, passing has been very efficient against them, and because of it, their defenses looked pathetic. Now, JPP, is he going to make that big of a difference in the grand scheme of things? Possibly not. But when you're dead last, there's nowhere to go but up. And I do believe they'll be a little bit better in that regard. And just being a little bit better on defense, I think is going to help their offense. And I think as a result, things are going to come together for them. I think he will help them.
So help just a little bit? Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he's good for a game. I think he's good for a game, possibly two, in terms of making a difference. He's not going to be the reason they win or lose.
If he can help you win 2 games, that's
what I'm saying is, we'll be up 2 after this weekend.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you can get a few additional sacks or apply additional pressure, and as a result, your defense is able to play a little bit better because quarterbacks don't get an opportunity to sit back, take pictures, call their family members, and say what's up while they're standing in the pocket to throw a pass. I think that ultimately helps. And if you have that going on, then the offense is going to get opportunities more. And with an Odell Beckham Jr., with the Ruben Randall, we're praying that Victor Cruz comes back. And I love me some Victor Cruz, and I miss the salsa. But here's the reality. The Victor Cruz that I'm looking at, damn it, hurry up, get out on the field. Because if you needed your money, I think you'd be out there. I need to see Victor Cruz out on the damn football field.
Let me add to that, too. Will Beatty, Prince Amukamara, Larry Donnell, there's a bunch of guys that we're waiting for.
That's right. That's right. But
it's a weed deal.
Yeah, she does not cover
But
up.
I'm bringing up Victor Cruz for a reason. What I fantasize about with the New York Giants, I want to see Victor Cruz, Ruben Randle, and Odell Beckham Jr. on the field with Eli Manning at the same time. That is what I am salivating for. That is what I desperately want.
Okay. Before I go, I want to apologize to Molly, but because in the meeting we had before the show, Brian Bork, our producer, and I were juvenile. We were insensitive to Molly. We made some jokes about JPP's hand, and we shouldn't have done it.
And
we
fireworks.
And fireworks.
Multiple.
Right. And they were
Puns
really
constantly.
funny.
The whole
really
meeting,
funny.
pun after pun. I had to just take it.
Okay. So, look, it was a serious accident. Now, why, to your point, why he would risk his livelihood playing with fireworks? And like you said, these are big fireworks that went off, man. I don't know, because I'm with you, especially if I had that livelihood to protect. I'm not doing anything remotely risky, such as motorcycle riding, bungee jumping, skydiving, any of those things. And fireworks is in that category to me. Okay, so we're back to the question, can he help? Well, he certainly can't hurt, right?
Right.
When you have allowed the most yards in the National Football League on defense, he cannot hurt your defense. Could he speed rush some where he doesn't have to grab cloth, where he just blows by somebody? Sure he could. If I have to see that video of him one more time going up against the blocking sled and pushing it around, I don't want to see it anymore.
What is this wooden thing he's pushing at practice?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't even know what it is. They can't get a real sled, Molly?
Right, what was
in
that?
New York? He's pushing some type of homemade sleigh.
Right.
They're resourceful. Taxes are high in New York. Come on, give them a break.
Yeah, so back to the big picture. Who's the team to beat right now in the NFC East?
Giants.
Everybody, because everybody's beatable, right? So nobody's the team to beat just yet. I'm going to stand by what I say. Even with JPP, and you're right, how can he be in any kind of real game condition now? I don't see it. It's going to be hot and sweaty in Tampa, and I don't know if they'll spot him a few times. Maybe he'll give you a rush or two. Do I see him, helping you win 2 games? I don't. I'm sorry. I'm not there. But big picture, I still say you're going to have a hard time winning this game at Buccaneers.
I want to know what you think. You think the Giants are going to win against Tampa Bay?
The Buccaneers are starting to come alive and come together. They just won at Atlanta.
They did. But they won that game because of mistakes. Mishandled exchanges between the quarterback and the running back, snaps not even getting up to Matt Ryan. And so I think those are the ways that the Buccaneers have to win.
But Jameis is playing more careful football. I think what he said, 1 interception in the last 4 games.
I'm a Jameis fan. Yeah. I think Jameis is going to be a franchise quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I do think that right now their defense isn't playing well. So I would pick the New York Giants to win this game this weekend.
Okay. So I do want to give Molly a hand for taking a stand for
wow.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I meant I was going to applaud you for your stance.
Yeah, guess what? Your answer was fireworks.
Okay.
Yeah, good one. Real funny.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
To say the Thunder struggled down the stretch last night against the Raptors would be an understatement. The Thunder led the Raptors by 6 points late in the fourth, but then only scored 1 point in the final 2 minutes, and Toronto gets the comeback win. The Thunder now have 2 losses and face the Bulls tonight. Stephen A., you picked them to win the West, but are you a little concerned now by what you're seeing from OKC?
Absolutely not. It's going to be their 4th game in 5 nights. It's relatively young in the season. They've won the first 2 games. First 3 games of this season. They lost the last 2 to Houston and Toronto. Houston was in the Western Conference Finals last year. They got a superstar in James Harden that dropped 37. They were on the road. Things happen. Against Toronto, this is the only undefeated team in the Eastern Conference. They're incredibly gifted. We all know Dwayne Casey could coach. They've got length and athleticism and versatility on their squad. The Oklahoma City Thunder have to do a better job of continuing to move the basketball, cut down on their turnovers. They've got to rebound the basketball, and more importantly, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook averaging 29 and 28 respectively, shooting identical from the field at 49.5%, which is an improvement for Russell Westbrook percentage-wise, even though Kevin Durant is shooting a bit better from three-point range. The reality is that they're combining for 40 points, 41 shots a night, 40 shots a night, actually. So when you look at it from that perspective, and then you think about the Serge Ibakas, the Enes Kanters of the world, both averaging over 11 points, but certainly not nearly as active shooting the basketball or what have you. It's not to say that the formula per se should change, Skip, because we all know that Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook is going to carry the brunt of the offensive load. The flip side, however, is that you have to be careful to make sure that others get involved so they don't fall asleep on you during the game, whether it be offense in terms of being active, moving their feet, setting picks and screens, etc., or whether it be active on defense. Even though Serge Ibaka is averaging more than 3 blocks a game, you still need these guys to be actively involved and to get them involved. So what I would say to a Kevin Durant, a Russell Westbrook, turn it up a notch in the fourth quarter as it pertains to your willingness to shoot the basketball and be in attack mode. But prior to that, do a better job slightly of getting other guys involved just so you can rely on them to be active when it counts most, which is the fourth quarter. Because sometimes when you've got two prolific offensive individuals and you're shooting all the time throughout the game, guys will let you down in terms of their activity as the game wanes because they're not anticipating that they're going to touch the ball. So it's almost like that theory, Skip, feed the beast, get them involved, make the other guys happy initially, knowing that when money time arrives, you are the two that will deliver the goods. It'll take a little bit of time. They got a new coach in Billy Donovan, but they got exceptional assistants in Monty Williams, who should still be a head coach, by the way, and a guy like Maurice Cheeks, who should also still be a head coach. So having Billy Donovan surrounded by those two guys, I think will help, and I think Durant and Russell Westbrook will feel themselves out and feel the rest of the team out, but I don't think there's much to worry about this early.
I do. I know it's early, but I've been watching a lot of Thunder basketball. Already, I'm seeing that troubled dynamic between two superstars with one basketball to share. I watched the game. I'm going back, 4 games to the one at Orlando. They should not have won the game, but they got very lucky because Russell Westbrook banked in a straight-on 3 at the regulation buzzer to send it into overtime, and they won in 2 overtimes. At Houston, Kevin Durant was 1 out of 5, 1 for 5 in the fourth quarter. Russell Westbrook played pretty well, but obviously it looked to me like Durant was still a little out of sync. Is it my turn or your turn? Can I shoot? Is it okay for me to go ahead and shoot this or not? Then last night, that was a home disaster. I know it's way early. We can't overreact just yet. But Russell Westbrook, who can be everything that you say that he can be, he well could win the MVP this year. That was not an MVP performance last night. He went 1 for 8 in the fourth quarter of a game in Oklahoma City that they should have put away easily. And meanwhile, Kevin Durant went 1 for 2 in the fourth quarter. So Russell took 8 shots. Kevin took 2. What's wrong with that picture? It's blurred. It's wrong. It's out of sync, out of whack. It just cannot be. And I get you. Toronto's an early season surprise. I'm impressed. They lead the NBA in fourth quarter point differential. So way to go. They roared back last night. And if you want to say stole that game, to my eye, it looked like they just won the game. It looked like they were the better team in the fourth quarter because of Westbrook, Durant. Your turn, my turn, or my turn, your turn? Which way is it? And they don't have a pecking order in a way to close games that they can trust and that will work. So that's what I'm seeing. And again, like you say, new coach, new coaching staff, they'll slowly figure it out. But I still think down the stretch when it really counts, these two will have a hard time sharing one basketball.
Well, I think they'll have a hard time sharing the basketball, Skip, early in the season, not later. We can't sit here and talk that and say that Billy Donovan is an exceptional coach, while Mo Cheeks and Monty Williams, at the very least, are exceptional assistants, that Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook are superstar talents, and then insult them by acting like they can't find a way to figure this out. It's incredibly early. Everybody will play their role. Their positions will be defined. But if we want to sit there and nitpick about it, Skip, here's what I would tell you. Kevin Durant will need, not right now, but as the season wanes, will need to be more aggressive. It's not Russell Westbrook's fault that Kevin Durant only shot twice. Don't tell me that he touched the ball 2 times in the fourth quarter. We all know that he touched the ball more than that. But I go back to that little story, and I'll share it with you and Molly right now. It's an all-time story as far as I'm concerned from my years in Philadelphia as a beat writer covering Allen Iverson with the 76ers. Larry Brown was complaining about Allen Iverson shooting the basketball, saying he was never going to pass it, blah, 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 blah. Allen Iverson pulled me out of the practice floor at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, which is where the Sixers practice. And Allen Iverson told this quick story, Skip. He says, Stephen A., how long does it usually take us to get past half court? Would you say about 8 seconds? So the shot clock 24, that's 24 minus 8, that's 16, right? He said, I come up the court. I give it to Eric Snow. Eric Snow gives it to Tyrone Hill. Tyrone Hill gives it to George Lynch or somebody, or Dikembe Mutombo, and ultimately the ball comes back to me. He says, Stephen A., it's about 5 seconds left on the shot clock. If you let the ball get back to me, evidently you didn't want to do something with this or what you expect me to do. Of course I'm going to shoot the ball. And I broke down laughing because as much as that might irritate coaches and beyond, it actually made sense. So when you look at it from that perspective, the reason why the Russell Westbrook story comes into play with Kevin Durant is Russell Westbrook's bringing the ball up the floor. He's the point guard. And they do whatever it is that they do. If the ball touches Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant is 6'10", who can pull up from 30, who's got a handle nasty enough to go on anybody, doesn't take it upon himself to shoot the basketball, what the hell is Russell Westbrook supposed to do? You got to want to do it yourself. And that's what I'm saying. And I've seen Russell Westbrook give Kevin Durant the ball enough where there is absolutely, positively no excuse on God's green earth for Kevin Durant to be taking 2 shots in the fourth quarter. And don't tell me he's touched the ball just twice, because I've seen him touch the ball more than twice. You got to want it, and you got to want to go get it. And that's on Kevin Durant. That's not on Russell Westbrook.
Okay,
that's just my thought.
Okay, 2 quick points. Your Iverson story doesn't apply here because Allen Iverson did not have Kevin Durant standing over on the wing saying, hi, remember me? I'm sorry, it was AI or bust on that team. So I
agree
get
with
what
that.
you're talking about. Russell Westbrook is the point guard. He makes the first decision. He dribbles it past half court, and he gets to choose. Am I going to pass it to Kevin or pass it to somebody else? Or am I going to jack up another shot? And last night in the fourth quarter, he shot it 8 times and made 1. Those are all his choices. So Kevin can't control him. And last quick point, new coaching staff, trust me, what they're going to learn about Russell, supreme talent, as talented as any player in the entire world, to me, virtually uncoachable. He's the point guard. He's not going to listen to what they say. He does what he feels like needs to be done at that moment. And I admire his guts. Nope, he won't. I know.
I just think that's disrespectful, Skip.
No,
to sit there and say that he's uncoachable.
He's
Skip,
just not going to listen. He just does
Skip, you're accusing him of not listening, ignoring coaches, and just doing what he wants to do.
Well,
that's
check
not
it out.
That's well, I have checked it out. Thank you very much.
Well, I don't think you've checked with the right folks then.
Well, all right. Forgive me. I will lean on my basketball expertise. I'm sorry.
I'll lean on mine in this situation.
Well, you go ahead and you do that, Skip. But I'm telling you right now, when you look at Russell Westbrook, you treat this guy like he just comes down the court and just jacks up shots.
Boy, he
doesn't pass it to everybody.
More than you think.
And there's a lot of times that he doesn't. Now, I'm in no position to argue about last night's game because I didn't see the fourth quarter of last night's game. So whatever you say, I have no choice but to defer until I go home and watch what I taped. But the reality is that I don't see a Russell Westbrook that just comes down. I see him making mistakes. I see him being a bit too aggressive at times. I've seen moments where he's done that. But I don't see a Russell Westbrook that continuously comes down the court, ignores his teammates, and just jacks up shots. I don't see that guy. And I don't think that's fair for you to classify him like that. He's made mistakes. He isn't the prototypical point guard. He's no Chris Paul. He's no Steph Curry. He's no Tony Parker or anybody like that. But Russell Westbrook, supremely confident in an offensive juggernaut in his own right. I have seen him come down the court and give the ball to other people, in particular Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant gives it up to other people who don't deserve the ball from time to time. You got to know your personnel. And when crunch times arrives, there's certain people that don't need to be touching the ball. There's certain people that do need to be touching the ball. And if I'm Russell Westbrook and I give the ball to Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant defers to somebody else or gives it back to me, then I'm going to do what I got to do. It's just that simple.
Okay, who do you think the primary option in the fourth quarter for the Thunder
Kevin
always
Durant.
is? It's
Kevin
wrong.
Durant.
You're wrong. It's Russell Westbrook. He's the guy with the ball in his hands. He thinks he's the primary option.
What was your question?
For years. I don't know what team you've been watching.
You're not listening to my question. I'm asking you a question. I didn't understand your question. Are you asking me who should be the number one option or who they designate the number one option to be? That's what I'm trying to get you to answer.
Not who gets who is the number one option?
Well, he's the point guard and he's going to be the number one option. But the point that I'm trying to make to you, it's supposed to be Durant. If this were LeBron or somebody else, you'd be saying, go get the ball. How you going to sit up there? You trying to tell me it's Russell Westbrook's fault that Kevin Durant took 2 shots in the fourth quarter?
Yes, I am.
That's Russell Westbrook's fault?
I am.
That's asinine.
He took 8.
That's asinine.
He took 8.
That's asinine.
So you think Russell's
I'm
dribbling
not talking about
saying,
his 8.
you don't want the ball? I think I better shoot it then. It's wrong.
Well, you have the box. Do you have the box score in front of you? How many shots did Oklahoma City take in the fourth quarter?
I just got the fourth quarter.
I'm saying I don't have it in front of me. I'm asking, how many shots did they take in the fourth quarter?
Oh, I don't know. I just got their 2 lines. I just wrote down their 2 lines.
Chances are it's not 10. Chances are it's not 10. Somewhere along the way, when you're the guy who's the superstar, when you're universally recognized as arguably the second best talent on the planet, when you are a former scoring champion multiple times, when you average 27 in your sleep, when you're averaging 29 for the season, when you are 6'10", who can pull up from 30, and somehow, some way, you find a way to take just 2 shots in the fourth quarter, that's Russell Westbrook's fault?
Yeah, because he's the guy pulling the trigger. He gets to choose. What happened at Houston? Late game, close game. James Harden game, ultimately. Russell Westbrook took 8 shots in the fourth quarter, but he made 5 of them. Kevin tried 5 shots in that fourth quarter and made only 1 at Houston. And I think last night, Kevin just gave up and said, you go ahead and do it.
And all I'm saying is, you making the argument that Russell Westbrook may shoot too much, I agree with that. I'm just saying, don't blame him for the amount of shots Kevin Durant doesn't take when it counts. You are the superstar. It doesn't matter what Russell Westbrook is. We all know what Kevin Durant is. The fourth quarter arrives. It's a tight game. It's money time. Kevin Durant is supposed to want the basketball. Want it. You have watched too much basketball over the years. You know the difference between cats who want it and who don't. Now, Kevin Durant ain't scared. Please don't get me wrong. I'm in no way implying that he's scared to take the last shot, that he wants to defer it. No, I'm not saying that. I am saying there is a level of aggression that somebody with his skill, who is universally recognized as the second best player on the planet, who's one of the greatest scoring machines, who will go down as arguably the greatest scorer in the history of this game when all is said and done, or at least one of them. The fourth quarter arrives. I don't care how many shots Russell Westbrook takes. We can say that he takes too many shots, but there is no excuse for Kevin Durant to be taking 2 shots in a fourth quarter of any close game.
I agree.
He's Kevin
I'm completely
Durant.
with you. So last quick question. Just give me a quick answer. One word answer.
Get the ball.
Do you think Kevin Durant went to Russell after the game in the locker room and said, hey, man, I need the basketball more in the fourth quarter? You think he did?
I don't think so. I didn't ask. I don't know. But I will tell. But I will tell you this: you doubt he did. I doubt he did, because that doesn't appear to be his MO, which once again brings us back to the MO of Kevin Durant.
Yep.
It is one thing. I'll go as far as to say this, since we on the subject. Could that possibly be why he's not a champion yet?
Maybe.
Because let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now. Kevin Durant averaged 30 on better than 50% shooting during the NBA Finals to Miami. There were times when we thought that was the quietest 30 we had seen.
Good
But
point.
when Russell Westbrook dropped 44 on them, it was loud, wasn't it? Because you saw an assassin coming in. Even though they lost that game, you saw an assassin trying to come at you. All I'm saying is Kevin Durant is one of the top 2-3 players on the planet Earth. There is no excuse for a close game to be going on and Kevin Durant shoots twice. You pointing the finger at Russell Westbrook. That is not Russell Westbrook's fault. You got to go and get the damn ball. He's got the skills to do it. Go get it.
On Saturday, number 4 Alabama takes on Ryan Clark's number 2 ranked Tigers. You know a little something about LSU. Both LSU and Bama are currently in the top 4 of the initial rankings, but Bama is favored by 6.5 points this weekend. Ryan, I see what's happening here. We need the camera on you for that.
Just throwing up my L's right now.
Oh, yeah. Go Tigers.
Just throwing up my L's right now.
Okay.
You know, I don't.
Who wins?
Clearly, you guys. Clearly, you guys didn't bring me on here for my expert analysis because we all know what I'm going to say. The Tigers were marched down to Tuscaloosa. Brandon Harris, Malachi Dupree, those 2 guys will be the reason LSU wins this game. Look at the last 2 games. You go to Florida. Florida's playing good defense. They're making Leonard earn his yards. He still rushes for 180.
He did.
Brandon Harris makes big throws. Western Kentucky, it's a sloppy game. It's storming. The stands aren't even full, which is rare at LSU. And he finds ways to complete passes in the slosh. Those were the 2 games Brandon needed headed into Tuscaloosa. Listen, we know their strength is their front. They're tough to run at. Nick Chubb and Georgia were probably the best running back O-line combination Alabama's faced until this week when they faced LSU and Leonard Fournette. It's hard to run right downhill at them. Nick Chubb, I think, finished with about 150, but he had one really long run, which Leonard is capable of breaking. We've seen him do it many times, but he's also capable of wearing college football defenses down, and I think he'll do that. I believe the play action pass will be big, and this Alabama team isn't the Alabama teams we've seen in recent years. I don't think this team's better than last year's team. I don't believe in the quarterback. I think Henry's a good running back. I really like Drake as a changeup. The freshman wide receiver can really play. I think top to bottom, though, LSU is a more talented team than Alabama.
Okay, so give us some score. Give us some idea what you think.
I'm thinking 24-20 LSU.
24-20.
And Skip, check the stats. We win in Tuscaloosa. Now, they win in Baton Rouge a lot, too. But this has been tilted toward the visiting team in this rivalry.
You've won 6-3 there sometimes, too. But
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah. Stephen A.
With all due respect, I don't care what Ryan Clark says, and it's not just because I know that he was going to put up the L's for LSU. It's because the man that he relies upon most, which is Fournette, is not going to be able to do against Alabama what he has done against everybody else. I know he's a stud. I know he's big time. I know he is pretty much the face of that offense. I get all of that. Malachi Dupree is nothing to joke about, along with Brandon Harris. But I think the very thing that Ryan Clark is pointing to about those two, Harris hooking up with Dupree in order to get the job done, is exactly what I don't believe is going to happen. I think Alabama is going to force LSU to have to throw the football in order to beat them. I think a gentleman by the name of Eddie Jackson in that secondary with Alabama, who's got 5 interceptions on the year, is going to do a little something against Harris this Saturday. I'm predicting that it's going to be at least 2 picks, probably by Eddie Jackson. Of course, Fitzpatrick is there. You can't ignore what he's going to do. Ragland is leading those boys in tackles. I'm looking at Alabama's defense neutralizing the run, forcing LSU to pass the football, and that's going to turn it into a Brandon Harris, Malachi Dupree kind of deal. I do not believe they're going to be successful. I also believe that Derrick Henry's going to have a big game. I think his game is going to be just as, if not even more effective than Fournette in this particular game, and I think ultimately Alabama walks. It's going to be tight. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to disrespect Les Miles and LSU and act like it's not going to be competitive, but I'm picking Alabama to win this game 24-20. I think they're going to beat LSU
identical
in Tuscaloosa.
scores, just different
That lets
outcomes.
you know he doesn't really believe it, Skip.
Yeah, neither do you.
He doesn't believe
At that
it.
point, then you don't really believe it
I
either.
write down right there.
24-20?
I reversed
Stop
Ryan's
it.
score also. I do believe Alabama at home will win this game, and it's going to come down to this. We always have Les Miles come in and sit in that chair just before the season starts.
And Saban.
And Saban. But listen, as you well know, because you're around that program, Les loves this young man, Leonard Fournette, on and off the field.
Yes.
Just really believes in him. And this is a Heisman game. And listen, Les Miles would like nothing more than to win the game and to win the Heisman for this young man.
I agree with that.
Who will be a pro football player. We're pretty sure, pretty quickly. He's going to be a big pro football player. I don't know what he's going to do next year. We'll see how that all shakes out. But I want to see him win this year's Heisman now. And I've told you before, I worry about him in these games, in the game at Ole Miss, because I don't think you can just line up and run it down their throat. As you say, it's just not, I don't care how great he is, it's too much to ask of him. So will Les's pride get in the way? I know he doesn't call the plays, but he'll dictate the overall scheme of things. So will they keep hammering away with Leonard, hoping to wear that defense down? Remember, that defense has given up 78 yards rushing a game, and he's averaging 193 as Leonard Fournette. Something has to give in there. Can he get 100? Can he get 105? Because he's going to need to for them to win this game, to me.
He'll rush for over 125 yards. And you spoke about Henry. He's 6'4", 6'3". They're going to get him running sideways, and Beckwith and Jamal Adams and Gotcha. Yeah, that won't be the problem.
He's a straight-up runner.
Yeah, that won't be the issue. But Leonard Fournette rushes for over 125 yards, and we can talk about it when I come back next week.
Sounds good.
All right.
When I have my LSU jersey on.
But you did say that Brandon Harris and Malachi Dupree would be the reason. You didn't say Leonard Fournette. I'm not trying to imply that a stud like Leonard Fournette is going to be shut down and he ain't going to rush for anything. He's going to get his. But it's going to come down to Brandon Harris and Malachi Dupree having to come through. And I don't believe they're going to be able to do it against that Alabama secondary.
I cannot wait.
3 for 3 on 20 for 20 scores, just different outcomes. Obviously, you have your Tigers. We'll see you next week. That one's at 8 in Tuscaloosa. So we have an LA Times writer saying Floyd-Manny fight will happen. Skip, you buying it?
I am not buying it, Stephen A. Smith. No way will your man Floyd risk his unbeaten legacy against a healthy Manny Pacquiao. Nope, won't happen.
Well, it won't happen because Floyd Mayweather won't allow it to happen because he's told me he's not interested. And why should he be interested? I understand Freddie Roach. I mean, I wish him good luck and all of that stuff with Cotto Canelo. But look, Manny had his chance. It's over. Have a nice life, y'all.
It's going to happen. Las Vegas, new arena. Bye. Appreciate you listening to the podcast. Catch First Take weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern and catch the re-air at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2.
A football Sunday doubleheader on ESPN Radio. First in Minnesota, the Vikings face the Rams. Touchdown! Then Andrew Luck and the Colts face the undefeated Broncos. Coverage begins at noon Eastern Sunday on ESPN Radio.